welcome to Fly Free Bird Podcast. I am very excited to have my very good friend Meghan on today.
Thanks for having me.
Hi, Meghan. Thank you for being here. It's so exciting.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so we were just talking about, I was just saying that Meghan's a pro because she's been on quite a few podcasts already with your expertise in your field.
Yeah, I've been on a lot. I have recorded over 100 podcasts.
Wait, on your own podcast?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm at like 106.
Jeez.
Something like that. Yeah.
Do you have a guest on it every time?
No.
Or, okay, so a lot of times it's just you.
Yeah, and I actually don't like those because it's like me just rambling for 20 minutes to half an hour. So I much prefer to have a conversation with somebody because it just makes it a little bit easier, kind of takes the pressure off. And most of the time, this is my first time doing one like in person with somebody.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So cool.
Because you're always doing virtual, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good, and we'll get into that. Yeah. So, funny story is that we actually met on Craigslist. So we will start there.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, what prompted you to like respond to my ad?
Gosh, I don't even know if I remember. I feel like I was just like, I need a place to live because I can't remember exactly what happened. I was working somewhere in my contract. I had like a gap in my contracts or something like that. And I wanted to stay in California.
Yeah.
And I didn't necessarily want to go like too far in the boondocks of California.
Yeah.
So you lived like in an optimal area.
Right.
So I responded and then I came and checked it out, I think by myself.
Probably.
Did anybody come with me? I don't remember.
I don't know. Were you
Sometimes
brave enough
I feel
to
like
just
I have like
come alone?
Gaps in my mind of like memory stuff.
Of what actually happened.
Yeah.
I know, but that was how many years ago was that?
Over 10.
It was over 10.
Because I've been in Bluffton now I moved there in 13, so I've been there for 12 years.
Wow. You've been in Bluffton for 12 years. So this is why this podcast is extra special, because you're living in South Carolina and you're here in California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Visiting.
Yay. Yeah, no, so I'm excited to have you here, like, because of your story. And you've been breaking free, I feel like, probably ever since college, I would say. Just, like, kind of following your own path on what you wanted to do. And how we met is you were out here looking for a room and traveling as a physical therapist. Right? So what do you remember most, though, like, about our little encounter here? Do you remember anything?
Oh, I just remember, like, always dancing and having fun.
Oh, I like that.
Like, I just feel like we always, like, went somewhere on, like, adventures, and we would go have fun and go to the beach a lot.
Yeah. And your first boyfriend, Jackson.
Yeah.
My doggy.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Oh,
sweet pea.
Yeah.
And it was just so nice to have a puppy here.
Yeah.
Because, like, even though I enjoyed traveling, it's like that kind of like makes you feel more at home having a pet or having like a dog around. And he was such a sweet little man.
He loved you.
I loved him.
You always are like, how's my boyfriend Jack?
Yeah. He would like come and hop on my bed and hang out with me. He was a little
sweet.
Yeah.
I know, and I was bummed when your contract like ended abruptly and then you had to move on. But what's really cool is that like we remained friends, you know, after just like a Craigslist ad and lived together for 3 months. It's crazy.
I know.
It's wild how life is.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like your stories always inspired me because you were traveling, first of all, like as a physical therapist because you wanted to travel. And I always thought that was really cool that you were just like bouncing around. And I guess from like, I want to know like what inspired the jump from doing that to moving to South Carolina and like getting into what you're doing now.
Yeah, there's a lot that happened in between.
Right.
So I love doing travel PT, but it was a little bit heartbreaking every time I would have to leave somewhere, because I would like just I'm an introvert by nature.
Yeah.
So usually it takes me a period of time to feel comfortable to let my weird out.
Even sometimes, and hence, you guys, you know, it's all about being authentic here, and we're not going to hide the wine. We're having wine. Cheers. So we can bring the weird out and just have full-on, real, authentic conversations. Okay, so then your weird finally comes out, and then you have to leave.
Yeah. And it was like just as I was like making friends and getting to know people, and it got old after a while.
Yeah.
So I had done travel PT for 3 years, and it just kind of got to the point where I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm ready to have some roots somewhere.
Right.
So I picked a place, which was Bluffton.
Yeah.
And I searched for job opportunities around there, and this job opened, and it seemed like the perfect scenario. It was like a Christian owned company, and my friend's husband worked as an accountant for the company, and he had really great things to say about it. So I was like, wow, like this really seems like something I should pursue. And they flew me out there to check it out, and you know, I ended up moving there and taking the job, and hated the job.
Oh my goodness.
Love the area I was living in, but hated the job.
How long did it take for you to realize like you hated the job?
Pretty quickly.
Really? Like within weeks or?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Because it was a mill. It was basically just churning out patients, and like we would be kind of hounded by our manager on a weekly basis about, you know, getting our visits up. And I'm like, dude, I'm already seeing 2 to 3 people an hour.
Yeah.
So by the end of the day, you're seeing like, I don't know, 14 to 16 patients a day.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's way too much. And you're seeing them for a full hour, and they're just like overlapping each other. It's just a hot mess.
You're seeing the patient for an hour, but they're like overlapping.
Yes.
Oh man.
So I was just like, this is not where I want to be. And then like kind of another scenario happened where really like so many like God moments.
Yeah.
Just his hand has been very visible in my life, like my whole life. And when I lived in Seattle and worked in Seattle as a travel PT, I had a manager who I loved.
Okay.
And his name was Kelson. And it's a very unusual name.
Okay.
And I was like, my friend was telling me about this job opportunity. It was for a director position for a clinic in Hilton Head.
Okay.
And the contact's name was Kelson. And I'm like,
you're like,
what? What are the chances of like another person being named Kelson?
Exactly.
So I reached out to my buddy Cliff, who also worked for the same company in Seattle, and I was like, what was Kelson's last name? And he told me his last name, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's the same guy. So so like that was like a moment where I was like, okay, like this is a great stepping stone for me.
Right. So then you reached out to him, and then you went over there. Mm-hmm. Like within how long? After
6 months.
Okay, so you stayed at the new company for 6 months, and then you went over there. Wow.
Yeah.
Was that the home health one? Or?
No, it was outpatient.
Okay.
And I was the director there, which was pretty intimidating because I was like, I've been a travel PT.
Right. That's a big title.
Now I'm like the director, and I don't know anything about how to be a director.
But you know the skill.
Yeah. So I worked for that company, absolutely loved it.
Okay.
And then they got bought out by a big corporation, and then it turned into a mill again. So I was happy there for a year and a half, almost 2 years before it got bought out. And like right at the beginning of them being bought out, they like were playing like, oh yeah, we're still like small, you know, we're a corporation, but we still feel like small business.
Yeah, I feel
we're
like
PT owned and blah blah blah. Right. So,
it's like every story of a small company that gets bought out.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, we're still the same. We're still the family.
Yeah.
No. Give it like 6 months or a year.
Mm-hmm. I know. It did not take long. So I stuck it out, and then...
Was Kelson still with them then?
No, he left.
So
when they got bought out, he
kind
of got pushed out, or like, I think he was just like, I don't want to deal. I think he like just kind of took his share, and he went and did something a little bit different, which I don't blame him.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, if I had the chance to get out, I'd
just do it.
So then I had a terrible manager. He was just like all about himself. And even though, so he was the area director, so that means like there were like 3 or 4 clinics in the area. I was just like a director of the clinic.
Right, of the clinic.
So technically like under him.
Yeah.
But he was so all about himself that he would like take patients away from my clinic.
Oh, jeez.
And I was across the street from him. And it was just so bizarre why you wouldn't, as a area director, you wouldn't want all the clinics to survive.
Right.
So he like he just was a terrible...
Oh, jeez. I'm sure
director.
Most people have experienced the bad boss scenario.
I was like, what are you doing? It was so weird. So... I would have been happy if he had just left me alone.
Right.
And let me do my thing, but it wasn't really that way.
Right.
So, then I was like, you know what? I think I do want to eventually open my own business, but I can't do it while I'm working somewhere like this. So I did home health.
Okay.
And home health is more flexible. You make more money. So I could like schedule all my patients earlier on in the day, and then I would go and see like my own people for my side business.
Yeah.
Or like try to build up a side business.
Yeah. So
I did that for 2 years, and then at the end of the 2 years, I got so busy that finally I was like, I can't do both. And it was like not fully full time with my business.
Yeah.
But there comes a turning point where you have to take a risk, where it's like, it's not going to ever be perfect conditions to quit your job and just like start your own business. Like you're going to have a period of time where it's like, oh my gosh, am I going to sink or swim?
Yeah.
And that was kind of the point I was at.
Wow. And you took the leap though.
Yeah.
So what encouraged or inspired you to just take it?
How busy I was, and then some of the stuff that was like going on with home health. So like they started getting on me about like, oh, well, even though you're seeing all your patients that you have scheduled for the week, like you still have to be like on call essentially every day, like in case a new patient comes up, and it just wasn't working for me to have my own business, because I'm like, I couldn't plan anything. So as that switched, and then talking with Mark, my now husband, he was my fiance at that point.
Then? Okay.
Yeah, I was like trying to think of the timing of that. Yeah, he was
around the time. Yeah.
So we had just gotten engaged, whatever.
Wow, okay.
And he's like, oh my gosh, I've been waiting for you to make this decision, but I didn't want to like push you. But because he knows how I am. Like if somebody's pushing me to do something, I'm going to dig my heels in even more. And like I just have that stubborn
You're like, don't tell me
hair
to
of my
do that. Make me think that it's my own idea.
Yeah.
Wow. So then, yeah, you broke free from the corporate world.
I did.
And you started your own thing.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about, like, where you started with your business.
Yeah. So when I was starting, I was doing some home visits with people because it was around COVID time. I was initially seeing them out of this private club, and then it got to the point where it was like people didn't really want to be going to the club. Going to the club.
Going to the club. What kind of club were you going to, Meghan?
To the club. But they didn't want to be around a lot of people, and they would much prefer me come to their house and do their visit.
Okay.
And everybody was like kind of in the vicinity of each other in that community. So I started that way.
That's right.
With
You were
in
doing
person.
privates. Yeah.
And then I was doing some training in Pilates for scoliosis, and I started just like kind of talking about it on Instagram a bit, and then people were like, hey, like, do you do virtual stuff? I don't have anybody local to me that can help me. So I was like, yeah. So then I like just kind of started seeing private clients online all over the world. Like I had people in Ireland.
That's wild. Was it on your radar before that you wanted to go into scoliosis therapy?
A little bit, because I had it.
Yeah.
Or have it.
You can't get rid of it, though, can you?
I don't know. You really can't, but at this point, but I think that there will be a time where
I mean, you can improve.
You can definitely, like, if things can get worse in your body, this is something that I say to people all the time. If your curve can get worse, it can get better.
I like that.
Because your body is constantly breaking things down and rebuilding, and if you position yourself in a way that encourages more symmetrical alignment, it's going to eventually load your bones more evenly, your tissues more evenly.
Yeah.
And help improve that symmetry over time.
Yeah. Wow, so you kind of were just learning about it probably for your own self, right? And then you started posting about it, and then people were interested.
Yeah.
And then you're like, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Then you had clients all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. But then I feel like you even stepped it up a notch, too, after that.
Yeah, so then I was doing privates, and then I started some small group classes just because I wanted to be able to help more people and have like a lower price point. And studies show when you have more like people in your corner holding you accountable, or just like in the same scenario as you, like even just working out, like me going and working out by myself, I'm much more likely to fail than if you and I were to like commit to going to the gym together, because I don't want to let you down,
Well, and think about it too, it's just hard sometimes on your own, even during COVID when everything was closed, to just say do a workout in your garage or in your living room, because you're like, this sucks. Like, I need a place to go to, or like for me it's yoga, like I need to go to the studio, and then once you show up it's like you practice, but it's a lot harder to practice on your own. Wow.
Definitely.
So then you started these small groups.
So I started the small groups, then I started a podcast, YouTube channel. And I never in a million years, like, if you would have told me in high school, undergrad, even grad school, that I would have my own business, I would laugh at you, because this was never an aspiration of mine. I always wanted to do the bare minimum. Like, go to work, do my job, come home, and just, like, not have to think about anything else. So the fact that, like, this has evolved the way it has was not ever in my plans.
You never had that dream. But what do you think sparked the dream? Like, was it just the freedom of it, or the fact that you knew you had more knowledge to offer and could offer it basically on your own rather than working under some sort of umbrella?
Yeah. I think it was both. Now that I do work for myself, I don't think I could ever work for somebody again.
Right. Well, I'm in this whole transition period trying to figure it out, and I just don't think I can. I'm like, I got to figure this out, And my whole process is happening now, evolving into where I want to go or what I want to do, but it's challenging to just stick with it. But I also know what it feels like not to work for someone right now that I'm like, okay, I've got to figure it out, because once you have that sense of freedom, you're like, this is pretty nice.
Yeah.
Right? No one's telling you what to do.
It's so nice.
Or what you have to do.
Yeah. Because it's if I don't work, I don't get paid, but then I can also grind.
Right.
And make a bunch of money at a small chunk of time and then have some time off. You can make it whatever you want it to be when you work for yourself.
Well, now you've established a base of customers and you have a great reputation that you have those followers who trust in you with their health and their therapy. So, but you built that up. You did. You had come on, that's amazing. It really is.
Cool. Yeah.
That's why I find it so inspiring, because literally you were doing the corporate grind and maybe you have your doctorate in physical therapy, you're smart and you're helping people, but then you took it to a next level, right? And you didn't settle for what you weren't happy with. And I think that in itself is super inspiring, with your career and all, because you knew you wanted more, you weren't happy and you found the next one, but it was always a stepping stone to get you to where you are now, But literally to have really no experience or thinking you'd have your own business or even probably YouTube or podcast channel,
no.
As an introvert especially?
Yeah.
That's wild. You should feel very proud of yourself.
Definitely it just pushes me to grow and change, It's still a struggle sometimes. I procrastinate with recording my podcast episodes sometimes just because I kind of dread, sitting there in front of the mic by myself and,
Do you know...
chatting for...
Right. Do you, write it out what you're going to talk about, or...?
Yeah, I make an outline.
Okay.
Sometimes it's more detailed than others. It depends on what I'm talking about. If it's something that I'm super familiar with and feel comfortable with, I don't really take many notes. I just kind of write out bullet points that I want to make sure I cover.
Yeah.
But then there's other topics where I'm I'm just kind of learning about this too.
Yeah.
And I feel it's important. I want to teach other people about it. So those I take more vigorous notes or write out more of a script, so to speak, for those episodes.
But it's kind of you're learning and growing and you want to share your knowledge, which I think that's amazing. Rather than holding it all to yourself, you're no, I learned this. Let me spread the word, right?
Yeah.
Wow. So how often do you release a podcast?
Weekly.
Oh my gosh. Do you record weekly then?
Yeah.
Wow, Meg, that's really good.
Yeah. My podcast editor actually just had his wife had a baby today, so he's taking a month off, so I'll have a little gap, but I try to double up on recording some podcasts before that, because he gave me a heads up. He's hey, I'm going to try to take the whole month of April off, and if you can, try and send me some extras so that I can have them to put out while I'm off.
Yeah.
So I tried my best.
Right. But it's hard. You're oh.
Yeah.
But, no, that's amazing. Wow. Yeah, no, he deserves some time off to spend with the baby. Wow.
Definitely. And he's, he does such a great job. So I'm not worried.
But yeah, I guess my question too is for people listening or on the verge, or even for me who's literally just starting, what is your advice to, like, literally start and, like, figure it out?
Well, I feel like that's a loaded question.
It is a loaded question.
So, to keep going, you really have to make sure that you are solid in what your end goal is. And keep returning to, like, what are you trying to achieve by starting this?
Right.
Instead of just kind of willy-nilly putting things out there and you're like, oh, somebody told me I should start a podcast.
Right.
So I'm going to start a podcast. But,
yeah.
like, you want to have it as a stepping stone, so to speak, or really be solid in, like, your why.
Yeah. Like, really focus on the why as opposed to the how.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of us get stopped at the how because we don't know how to do it. Right?
And I, you know, like, I've muddled my way through.
Yeah.
Like, learning from other people.
Right.
And, you know, I wouldn't say I'm an expert by any means. I'm just still, like...
Yeah.
I'm doing it, but...
Right. You're figuring it out.
Yeah.
Like, you're not focused on the how.
Perfect it is.
Yeah. Well, and that's, like, something I feel like I'm growing in that, of letting go of perfection. Because I know things aren't perfect. You see the set. But, hey, it's good enough for now.
Yeah.
But I want to keep improving, right? But I think the most important thing is to just keep going and figure it out on the way, because we're all going to go through little snags or, like, hiccups or obstacles that are going to kind of make us feel like, oh my God, like, maybe I'm not good enough, or I should stop. But it's like, okay, like, quiet that voice.
Yeah, exactly.
Focus on the why.
Yeah.
Right? And just, like, keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And I think when you're having one of those days, it's just allowing yourself, okay, I'm having a day. It's okay. I'm going to go to the beach, or I'm going to sit in the sauna, or I'm going to call a girlfriend or take a walk or something, and just let it go. Because, like, tomorrow's a new day, right?
Yeah.
But I think the hardest thing is, honestly, to keep going.
Yes.
And I think that's why I find it so inspiring. And I feel like you don't give yourself enough credit, because, like, you're like, you've done a lot. And I find it just really cool. And you should feel really proud of yourself.
Thanks, Kenny.
No, but for real. Like, it's amazing to, like, see your growth, even just from living here to, like, everything you've gone through, even personally, to, like, where you are now in your, like, professional life and your personal life. Like, I think there's a lot of resilience, and there's a lot of, you just kept going. And you're doing well, and I feel like you're calm and you're peaceful, and, like, things are only on the up and up. So it's really inspiring. It really is. I'm for real. Can you take a compliment?
Yes. Thank you.
You're like, it's no big deal, blah, blah, blah. It's like, it is a big deal. Like, you literally left your job. You, like, are thriving in your business. And I know you've had some, like, hurdles, but, like, you overcame them. You know? I feel like you're at a really good spot. And you keep thriving. Like, you're not just like, I'm good now. It's like, no, you're, like, going further and even finding new passions in your heart. And I think that's awesome. So I want to give you, like, a kudos and a cheers, because, you know, you should feel really good about it.
Thanks.
I'm really proud of you.
That means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm serious, though. You've gone through some stuff, so.
Yeah. It's been a journey. You know, I think one of the biggest lessons I learned professionally, especially, like, just starting out, is I spent a lot of time trying to be like other people. And that doesn't work very well, because, you know, I was doing that. I was insecure. I had imposter syndrome about, like, how qualified I was to be doing what I was doing. And, you know, part of the way that you learn is, like, replicating what other people are doing.
Right.
But I had a hard time really making it my own.
Okay.
And feeling confident that I had something to offer that was worthwhile.
Right.
I think that's something that was like a really big learning experience for me.
Yeah.
And, you know, since then, like I've had some things that have happened and, you know, that were my own doing. And I've learned a lot through that, and I feel like I've grown, and I'm now trying to like piece together things that I see that are valuable from other people.
Yeah.
And then, you know, meshing that together to make something that is my own.
Right.
But it's been a learning process.
Right. But you haven't given up. And I think that's kind of the biggest lesson too. Because maybe in the beginning, like you said, you were struggling with certain things. But then now I feel like you've found your voice. And you're still leveraging like what other people are offering, but you're making it your own, right? And I think that's what's making you shine and what's making you thrive, because you have found it. But it wasn't easy, I'm sure, getting there.
No. No, it's been, you know, it's been hard. It's been like letting down some people that I really admired.
Right.
And, you know, like losing some mentorship that I had that was valuable and, you know, special to me. And, but, you know, I made mistakes, and I'm trying to just continue to move forward and make better decisions and, own it, you know?
Right. Yeah, like work through it. Get through it. But that's part of the resilience factor.
Yeah.
So good job, Meg.
Thanks.
Good job, girlfriend. But yeah, I'm very proud of you. And I mean, I know you have gone through a lot, even like personally. And now you have like this amazing man in your life that I think probably everyone adores. If they don't adore him, then there's something wrong with them. Hi, Mark. We love you. But I know even like getting to him, you had kind of a little bit of a crazy situation. And I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that, because it's weird how we bonded on certain things. Like we were obsessed with our dogs, you know, and among other things, and heartbreak among them. But yeah, it's like we also went through this whole narcissistic type of ex-boyfriends, and your story is kind of crazy, but you got out, and I don't know if you feel comfortable sharing anything about that to the extent you feel comfortable with, but maybe to help viewers and listeners kind of understand, like, this is more than just a break free from, like, the corporate life and starting her own, like, amazing, thriving business. This is about how she, like, broke free personally, too, and, like, have really become the woman that you are. And I'm very proud that you have, and you got out of it. Yeah. But, yeah, maybe you can share a little bit, whatever you feel comfortable with.
Yeah, sure. So, actually, this all kind of happened simultaneously around the time that I had met you.
Yeah.
I started seeing somebody, like, dating people. So when you're traveling a lot, it's hard to meet people. Let me have that disclaimer.
Oh, yeah, meet someone and then you're moving on.
Yeah, let me have that disclaimer. So I was on some dating apps, and one of them was like a Christian Mingle dating app, and I met some really nice people through that, and I started dating this person, and like really had a lot of passion for Jesus and caring for other people, and there's a lot that attracted me to him and drew me to him, and anyway, so kind of I was just telling you this last night that, like, right off the bat, you know, your intuition, you gotta listen to your intuition, but like right off the bat there was just like something where I was like, oh my gosh, this is like a lot, where I felt like I was being love bombed.
And back then, I feel like that wasn't even known,
but
right?
like now I know what that is, and I look back on that, I'm like, that's what love bombing is.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I don't know you, but like you're just like telling me how like I'm your best friend, and like it was just like a lot of mismatch from reality. Like there's no, I can't be your best friend. I don't know you very well, and I just met you, and
you're like, how am I your best friend?
Yeah.
Like, when was he, like, how many, was it weeks or months?
I mean, it was short.
Yeah.
It was maybe weeks.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So this was like our first time meeting, but like he lived pretty far away from where I lived, so it was like a hangout overnight. Like he was like sleeping on the couch and, you know, whatever. And we stayed up late talking, and that's when he was like, "You're my best friend." It was just like, it was
a lot.
It was a lot, but you know, I've spent a lot of time in my life not listening and not like trusting my intuition, just like from like stuff like growing up and like kind of having my voice shut down about a lot of things. And, you know, like, it's my way or the highway.
Oh, okay.
Growing up.
Interesting,
and that kind of filtered into some other scenarios in my life that, like, didn't turn out so great for me. So, anyway, it, like, turned into, like, he was still here, and I moved across the country, and we remained friends. It wasn't like we were dating at that point. We did date while I was still in California, but then he ended up moving across the country, had a falling out with somebody that he was living with, and ended up like coming down and staying with me. And I thought it was like, oh, like you're just needing a place to crash for a little bit, and then ended up like moving in. And that was like, I didn't speak up. I didn't feel...
He just like maneuvered his way in.
I didn't feel like safe or secure to say like, hey...
Yeah.
You should get your own place if you're going to stay down here.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to help, but like, it just got pushed into this whole situation that I didn't feel comfortable with, but didn't feel safe or confident enough to speak up about it, because it was like I knew that he wasn't mentally healthy and well, and I was like, if I have him leave, like he's going to hurt himself or he's going to hurt me. It was more hurt himself, like at that point. I never thought he would hurt me at that point. So we, you know, we ended up dating.
It was like this, so it was like reverse, like move
awful,
him.
Like so stupid. So anyway,
because that went on for a while.
He was living with me for about 2 years, I think. And honestly, that period of my life is like a blur. Like I definitely have like a lot of like gaps in my memory.
Isn't it interesting how we block out certain time frames and you literally don't remember it? Mm-hmm. And I know there's probably some psychological reason
protection.
For that. Like we just don't remember it, and other people do. You're like, remember, and you're like,
no.
Actually, no, I don't. And you're like, I have pictures. I'm like, oh, like, wow. Mm-hmm. Okay, let me ask you: did he ever pay rent, or did he mooch?
When he first moved, this whole thing was like also frustrating. So when he first moved in, he didn't have a job. So he wasn't paying rent initially. And I like was trying to be nice and be like, hey, I'll help you out. Like, you're in a bad way right now. And I don't know how many months I let pass. 3 maybe before I said something. And then when I did say something, it was like not received very well.
Right.
It was like, oh, well, yeah. I thought you were going to, like, I thought you were here to support or, like, be my friend and help me out and, like, made me feel like shit for asking, well, hey, are you going to get a job?
Right.
Like, it wasn't, I don't even think that, like, I asked for rent initially. I was like, are you just going to lay on the couch?
Oh my gosh.
Are you going to get a job?
And you're, like, literally out working.
Oh, yeah.
All the time. And he's just, like, literally freeloading at your house.
Yeah, just, like, laying on the couch, on his phone, watching YouTube videos, playing video games, like, healing.
Right.
And I was trying to be patient.
Yes.
And give grace and whatever. So, yeah, that wasn't received well. But then he did end up getting a job, started paying rent.
So then maybe you were thinking, okay, he's, like, on the upswing.
Yeah.
Right? Giving him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. But then it was just constantly always something. There. I lived in this little apartment. I had a little balcony, hardly any space. I mean, it was like maybe from your chair to here to my chair was the space of the balcony. So, like, it had a little space for a bench.
Right.
And nothing else. I made the mistake.
What?
I made the mistake of telling him that I liked sunflowers. So he decides he's going to grow sunflowers for me on the balcony. And they were, like, pretty for, like, a moment. And then they were dying and they looked like shit. And I was so embarrassed by these sunflowers. Like, it just
dead sunflowers.
Dead.
It was kind of eerie, too.
Yeah.
Dead sunflowers.
It was terrible. So I finally said something like, hey, are you okay if I, like, throw the sunflowers out because they're dead? And he, like, lost his shit on me.
Like, literally?
Yes. He was, like, started crying and then was, like, talking to our neighbors about it. Like, I was the most horrible person in the world because he grew these sunflowers for me and I wasn't appreciative of them, and I didn't want dead sunflowers on our balcony. Like, that's just, like, one of the many things that were happening. Like, it was just, like, he would send me emails while I was at work about, like, conversations we had the night before about, like, what I meant by this, that, and the other.
Oh, my God.
Was just, like, so emotionally abusive. Like, it was just awful.
Do you think the sunflower incident was when it really kind of shifted where you were like, wait a second, this is, like, very abnormal?
It was definitely a highlight. Like, it's one that I remember.
Yeah.
You know, I think I've blocked a lot of the other ones out. Like, some of the other ones were, you know, my friends coming and having an intervention. Like, basically,
with
like,
you?
My two best friends, Anna and Beth, they came down for a visit, met him.
Oh my God.
And, like, saw all the red flags.
Yeah.
And, you know, sat me down at lunch and we were like, hey, like, he's really sketchy.
Yeah.
What are you doing? And I was in so deep at that point. It was like, I don't know. We had a dog together at that point.
Did you guys get Nico together?
He bought him for me as a gift. He bought him for me as a gift.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But, like, we did get him together. Like, it was like he sent me the ad and we went and looked at him together and I was like, yeah, you know, anyway.
Oh, man.
So,
so they're having this intervention with you, and did you listen, or did you kind of know they were right but you ignored it, or what do you think? You were brainwashed and thinking everything was fine, or you were his savior, or...
I really thought I could help him.
Yeah.
And I think that was my mindset for a long time. I'm like, if I leave him or if we break up, like, nobody else is going to be able to help him. He's going to be completely alone, because that's, like, kind of the story that he told me about his life. So I listened to them, but I was just like, I can't do anything. So basically, things kind of continued that way, and then they escalated to a point where he had a mental health crisis that was so scary, where I ended up, like, taking our dog and leaving and staying with our friends, or my friends, who, like, I actually hardly knew them.
At the time you didn't?
Yeah.
Wow.
I just had this, like, intuition that I could trust them and that she would help me. And I reached out to her and I was like, I know that this is weird and random that I'm reaching out to you, but, like, I really need a safe place to stay. And she opened her home willingly to me and Nico, and we stayed there as he was deteriorating at my apartment.
At your apartment.
And that transpired for, like, a week, and then things got to a point where there was an incident where the police were called, ambulance were called at our pool. And he ended up having to go into the hospital, and God literally, like, provided an open door for me to get out of that scenario as, like, freely as possible. You know, like, it was just my friends stepped in, they helped me, like, pack up all of his things, put it in his car. We took his car to they took his car to the hospital for me. I moved apartments so that he wouldn't know where I lived. Or, like, you know, who knows?
Who knows?
But that was my thought process at the time. So, yeah, it was, I can't believe it was my life. And, you know, I've been, I know now I'm in, like, this very healthy relationship and happy, and I've, like, as soon as we weren't together anymore, I had this huge weight lifted off of me, and I just felt so, like, relieved.
Right. It was just like you felt light, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, it was like so much darkness that I was enveloped in, and then finally I was like, oh, I can breathe, and I was just like, screw dating, screw having, like, a boyfriend. Like, I was just...
Right.
I could care less at that point. I was happy to be single.
Like,
a long
free
time.
And having fun and
and I did that for a few years.
Right.
And it was great. But I've developed this obsession with true crime, and I was, like, thinking about this for a little bit, like, after some stuff happened recently. I'm like, why do I really enjoy true crime so much?
Right.
And what I came to the conclusion about, which is, like, so weird, but I think it's a way of me learning, like, every possible scenario to protect myself.
Interesting.
And it's not like, I mean, it's not like my husband's going to do something to me.
No,
but, like,
would have even been, like,
but it's like, after going through what I went through, and feeling so unsafe, and just the way that things spiraled the way that they did, I've just kind of become obsessed with, like, learning about, like, other scenarios that people have gotten themselves into. And I'm like, okay, like, I'll be on guard for that. You know, it's, like, just a weird protective mechanism, I think, that I've developed with it.
Yeah.
It's not like I enjoy, like, hearing terrible scenarios about people, but it's, like, and educational.
Right. You're educating yourself and all the other crazies out there and like how to keep yourself safe. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So it's definitely like continued to evolve. I mean, I hadn't thought of this whole scenario for a long time, and then I like learned some new information about that whole situation. And it turns out that I did have a reason to be afraid.
Do you want to say it briefly?
So he ended up hurting somebody to the point of killing them. That it was a family member and was not in a state of mind that he was aware of that.
Yeah.
And that's how severe his mental health condition was or is. And you know, I think I was telling you this last night that like I think that when he became aware of what he had done, you know, I just don't know how he's living with himself, because this is the one person that he always felt supported him or cared for him. And
it's
yeah,
that is devastating. And you just found this out a few weeks ago. Yeah, so like you're living on and thriving and happy in your relationship, and out of the blue you just kind of pretty much Google him, right? Your friend does.
Yeah, I was out to dinner with my friend, and she was talking about like a job that she has in this area of Virginia, and I was like, oh, that's where so and so is from. I was like, I wonder if he's still alive because of what, you know, he's struggled with his whole life.
Right.
And she Googles him, and then we find this out, and it was like just being hit by a ton of bricks, and I had this like huge wave of like panic.
Yeah.
That happened where I was like, oh my God, that could have been me. That could have been, you know, even a friend.
Right.
Like, just so many things went through my mind.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I still can't believe like that. I can, but I can't.
Like I told you last night, like I'm sure you were shocked, but it didn't like surprise you.
Mm-hmm. And that was the terrible.
And that's the terrible thing, because it's like your intuition knew possibly, maybe, like, but you never really probably thought it would happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then to see that it did to the one person that he was close with.
Yeah.
And it just shows you, like, how bad that type of mental illness can be. Like, is there a cure? Like, is it even possible to rehab people to that extent? Because it's most importantly, it's so sad.
Yeah.
Because I met this guy. He put on a good act. Like, he had charm and, you know, like, they put on a good act, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like there's some good to them. And then...
For sure.
Obviously, you wouldn't have given him the chance if you didn't see that, you know? He wasn't all evil.
No.
But then it, like, switches. And then it's like you had in your heart, like, I can't leave him because he's going to hurt himself.
Yeah.
Right? But then you had the courage to leave him. So, like, that in itself... And I know you have guilt and probably shame of not leaving earlier. But, like, timing is everything, and you did get out. So you should feel really proud of yourself for leaving, you know? But it's still, I'm sure, such a shock, like, hearing what you know happened, you know? Yeah. Because it very well could have been you. So thank God you got out.
Thank God, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's heavy and it's real. And, no, I appreciate you sharing the story, because I know it's not easy, but I think part of it is shedding a light onto truth and reality of what can happen, because like on the outside, like everything could look perfect.
Yeah.
And I feel like, or fine, it looks healthy, right? But you don't really know what's going on. You don't really know what's going on in someone's head. And I fully believe everyone has a story. Everyone has a battle, whether it's within themselves, their family, friends, something health-wise. There's always something. So it's always a reminder to be kind, because you don't know what someone has gone through. But really, even just in your story, how, like, I feel like you're this sweet, innocent Christian girl from, like, Pennsylvania, you know? You're a physical therapist traveling. You meet this guy in Christian Mingle, and he played you for a bit, whatever. You were very sympathetic, nice to him, and then you had the courage to finally leave, and now you're in a healthy relationship. Your business is thriving, right? But yet, a few weeks ago, you just are like, what's up with him? And then you find out this. Mm-hmm. So it's just life, I feel like, but you had the courage to leave. But it's shedding the light that regardless of what things look like, there's always something. And we talked last night about kind of what's kind of in your heart. Mm-hmm. And I want to shed light on that, because I believe it's like, however you can take your pain, whatever you experienced, and like turn it for good. I feel like that's part of like God's purpose, you know, part of, okay, well, why would I experience all that pain and then you just don't do anything with it? But I think talking about it and shedding the light onto other people, like, this happens and how can I help? Then that's kind of you doing like your duty kind of in a way, and like your purpose to like keep moving forward and helping other people. So it's crazy, because on paper, like, I feel like, yeah, you're helping scoliosis patients and you're doing all this stuff. You're opening up a brick and mortar store, and it's like so exciting. But last night you shared with me that you wanted to do something more from your experience, and I would love for you to share about that.
Yeah, so through my experience and through some other things that have happened over the course of the past year, just hearing other women's stories, just locally in South Carolina, the Micah Miller story, the woman who committed suicide, was married to a pastor, was in a coercive control relationship, and then in addition to that, I had a classmate of mine from physical therapy school who, she was, I can't remember how many weeks, 9 weeks pregnant, and her husband strangled her and killed her. And that sounds like another coercive control relationship. And I just keep hearing how pervasive this scenario is for people, where they're in so deep they don't have a safe place to go or escape to. And I feel that it's kind of like been in the back of my mind a little bit about like helping people in that scenario. But since I've learned this information about my own situation, I feel even more strongly about helping women have a safe space to escape to. Where they know that this is like, I'm not exactly sure how it's all going to unfold or what it will look like. Right. But it will be, you know, a space for people to come and hide or come and live and maybe even thrive, to get away from a dangerous situation with their partner.
Right. Yeah.
So
that's amazing. I mean, it's like however you can help, right? Mm-hmm. And like shed the light that there is hope. I think that's like maybe the biggest thing. Yeah. Because I think so many times these women, I mean, it could be men too, like they feel trapped, right? trapped in a situation, or my whole thing is like caged, but like they're literally caged. They're trapped.
Yeah.
Or that's how they feel. And it's like giving them maybe some tools, encouragement where they can get out.
Yeah.
You know? So, I mean, it's just heartbreaking all the time. And it's like, how does this issue get resolved? I don't even know if there is an answer.
You know, it runs deep in that in our law enforcement system, if somebody is having a domestic issue and they call for help, it's often ignored or blown off because it's like...
They think they're just having like a dispute or something.
Yeah, we can't really help you. But there are some laws trying to be passed for coercive control where police officers would be better educated about what questions to be asking about that scenario to see if somebody is in a coercive control relationship. Like, do you have access to your own money? Do you have access to your own car? Like, you know, there's just like certain things that they can ask to better discern if somebody's in a situation like that so that they can provide help and safety.
Well, that's good.
But ultimately, it's believing people when they say that they need help.
They need help. I mean, here's the thing that I think people might get wrong sometimes is that no person ever signs up for this.
Mm-hmm.
Ever.
Yeah.
In the beginning, like, you don't...
you don't see the ugly things. Yeah.
And then it's like little by little, you start getting manipulated. I mean, I had a experience for about 1.5 years, and thank God I got out, and it never got to that bad of an experience, but maybe it could have, you know? But it's like, before you know it, you're manipulated, you're being isolated from friends and family. They make you feel guilty about what you're doing, or you're not supporting them when they're asking for money and you don't want to give it to them, or you end up giving it to them because you're helping them. And it's just like, before you know it, you're like in.
Yeah.
So it's almost like recognizing the signs before you get in too deep. But it's like those women who are in too deep, they feel like they have nowhere to go, right? So, but it can happen to anyone, like any independent, strong woman, like, or man. I'm not saying it's just women, but like, before you know it, you're like trapped. Yeah. And it's almost like when you realize it, it's almost sometimes too late.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very real thing, and it happens a lot too to like strong women. And you would think like, how would they ever let that happen? But it happens, you know? Like, so I do think it's something that needs to be talked about more.
Yeah.
Because so many people are trapped and they literally feel like there's no way to get out. And it's just heartbreaking. So I guess, like, what would your advice be to women who, if hopefully there's anyone listening right now, like, what would your advice be to them? Or men, anyone who's struggling in this similar situation?
I would say trusting your gut and listening to what your intuition is telling you about that scenario.
Yeah.
And you always have one person in your life that like knows and understands, and to reach out to that person,
right,
to help you figure out how to get out. Yeah. That would be my best advice, honestly.
Yeah. It's like, don't stay silent. Talk to someone. You've got to, right? What if they have no one to talk to? There
are hotlines that you can call. It's like domestic abuse hotlines, where they can give you advice or maybe suggestions for safe spaces to escape to.
Yeah.
I would not say it's wise to have a conversation with your partner about it, because that's usually when things escalate to the point of violence, is when the woman tries to leave.
Confront them?
When the woman, like, says something about leaving is when
Right.
it turns into a violent scenario often. So I would say try to be as nonchalant about it.
Yeah.
Pretending like everything is still okay, even keel, and then disappearing, like, honestly.
Wow. Yeah, it's like play the part until you get out.
I'm not a professional, so please, like...
Yeah, like, please don't.
Please don't, like, take my word for it. Like, do some research on your own, other than what I'm saying.
Right.
I don't know.
You don't know. You just
but that
know
would just be
for me. Yeah.
That would be my advice.
Wow. Yeah. That's scary. But I'm glad we're talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not easy.
No. It's not. But it's important. And amazing women have lost their lives because of it.
Yeah.
Like, very smart, passionate, loving, kind women.
Yeah. You're going to make a difference, Meg. You already are. You know? And all we can do is, like, be the light, right? That we want in the world. And, like, even just taking that next step to making a difference, you're doing something. Yeah. Like, even, who knows? I hope that this can reach some people and maybe they're inspired by your story and they take that next step to get out. And that's all we can hope for, you know? Because you're doing great. And I know it's hard.
It is, but yeah, hopefully it helps somebody.
It will, yeah. I think it is, and going forward, it's like all we can do is not give into this darkness, like live in our light and not let the darkness shine our light, because I do believe everyone has a light to shine, but there is so much darkness around us. But if we all shine together, then I think that will just make that ripple effect in the world, really, to make it that much better. You know, we just have to believe and have faith that like that one little step or that one conversation, or you happen to see a stranger looking sad, like really sad, maybe you just have a conversation with them, you know? Because you don't know what your words or your smile or your presence even can do for someone. And I just pray to, like, spread the light. Like, there's a lot of sadness and darkness, but I also believe there's a lot of good. So how do we take all that and not give up on society and the human race and, like, lift each other up, right? And spread the light that we have within and the knowledge we have within to help others break free, right? From whatever it is that they're holding them back. And if you're in a relationship that you need to break free from, then, like, we encourage you, you've got to take that next step. You're worth it. You're loved, and you are enough, and have that courage to just take that step, because you are worth it, and know it in your heart. Do whatever you can to get there. So I want to thank you, but I also, like, it's crazy kind of ending on a sad note, but I guess, do you have any advice, like to everyone who's listening, or something that's to lift them up and, like, how to move forward, and like, spread the light, Meg?
I think it's important to find your thing that people say you're good at, or people, like, ask you to help them with. You know, just kind of, if you feel lost and kind of not really sure what to do or what your guiding post should be. Listening to those things and listening to those suggestions that you're getting from God, I believe, that are saying, like, hey, like, this is a gifting that you have. And this is a way that you can be a light and a help in the world. Because it can be hard when you're kind of enveloped in craziness, like if you are in a situation like that. Like, you don't feel like you have a whole lot of worth.
Yeah.
And much to give the world. But I think it's important to, really take some time to be quiet and think about those things.
Right. And like pay attention. Because I do believe God is always speaking to us. Yeah. But it's our job to listen.
Yeah. That's the hard part, isn't it?
That's the hard part.
I got it all figured out, but
I mean, I think we all struggle with that, right? But it's like, it's almost a discipline to quiet your mind so you can actually listen to what he is saying and not let that darkness overtake you, and like allow the light to shine from within and pay attention, and then take those steps to get to where you need to go, So
thanks for having me on, Katie.
I appreciate having you on, Megan. We've been all over today, but I appreciate your story and you opening up. I know that probably wasn't that easy, but I'm proud of you for sharing, and and I hope to inspire others and to help them break free.
Absolutely.
So cheers, girlfriend.
Cheers.
To
what's this called? How are we drinking?
Oh, I love you bunches.
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 And you bunches.
I love you bunches. Oh, I got the chills. I love you bunches. Break free.
Cheers.
Spread your wings, everyone. We love you. Hi, guys. It's me, Katie. Thank you so much for listening. I am so excited to announce that I am launching Fly Free Bird one-on-one coaching, designed to help you break free, rediscover joy, and simplify your life so you can live more authentically. If you're feeling the pull, I'd love to connect. DM me on Instagram at flyfreebirdpodcast, or email me at flyfreebirdpodcast@gmail.com for more information. Make it a beautiful day, keep shining your light, and let's fly.